So let's wait for this to get started and then we can kick things off. I'm going to share this quick. Development of Red. Come check it out on YouTube. Ta-da! 2016. Okay, one sec, guys. Getting things tweeted. Is that what that's called? To send a tweet? Either way. Is that what that's called? Yes, it is. Awesome. Everything seems to be working. I think the volume might be a little bit quiet. But I think it's good enough to work with. So, hello internet. Welcome to I guess our Asylum Game 2016 project. This is going to be probably the first of 3 streams. Asylum Jam is a game jam where you have 48 hours to build a horror game that doesn't use the classic horror tropes. So it doesn't use asylums, it doesn't use hospitals, it doesn't use insanity, things like that. Granted, based on what I have showing here, it's a little bit creepy, but that's sort of what we're going with. We're going for unsettling. So the project we're going to be developing over the next about 3 days. We have 48 hours to do this. I'm starting very late on Friday and going to be going until about 10ish on Sunday. So the project we're working on is called Red. And that's because it's going to use 3 colors. I actually have the materials that I thought I'd need. We have black, which our guy is using. We have red, which is going to be for blood and is currently just the background. We have white, which is a little emissive white, which is the eyes for the most part. And then we have another white, and that's just for the rest of the terrain. So the idea that we're going for here is it's going to be more of a social thing. So you're going to be in a house with probably like 20 other people. And one of those other people is going to be eliminating certain other people in the house. And the idea is you don't want him to, 1, eliminate you, and 2, you don't want to eliminate anybody that isn't the bad person. And so it's going to hopefully play on that dynamic. I don't know how much we're going to get done in 48 hours. Hopefully it all works. But I kind of have my doubts. But I figure it'll be fun, and I think it'll be an interesting play on horror because it'll kind of play on your claustrophobia. It's not going to be a very big house, but there's going to be a lot of people in it, and there's going to be a lot of places you can't control. And so things are going to happen when you're not there, and that's just going to be part of the game. At least that's sort of what I'm thinking of. So I can hop out here. And I've kind of already got a little bit started. That was just so I could build the thumbnail. I have Morph 3D imported, and I've replaced the standard texture with our black material. We have both the female and the male model. I'm kind of going with what I did with the reality game. So we don't actually have any clothing on them. It's just I think it kind of is just more silhouette style. So that's sort of where that comes from. We'll see how that goes. Part of me likes that art style, part of me really doesn't. So we'll see where it ends up by the end of this. But that's what we have right now. Is we have that, and then we have just a square on the bottom. I've already added a few effects as well. We've got bloom, some ambient occlusion. With SSAO Pro. We've got depth of field, and that's just these other effects besides the ambient occlusion are all coming from Unity's cinematic image effects. And we also have screen space reflection, which I don't even think we really have anything reflective. The blood is going to be reflective, but that's about it. So let's get started. I think initially there probably isn't going to be all that much going on. So the game is going to mostly rely on the AI. I wasn't even planning until like Sunday to even get beyond the AI, because the player's role in this is not actually that big. What we're trying to do is create like an interactive environment with a lot of people interacting in it. And then the player just becomes another part of that environment. And they themselves are not, they're just an observer, really. And that's both the freaky part and hopefully the interesting part. We'll see. So all I've done kind of is point this camera down. So we have just our scene. Just to make things less awful, I'm going to turn HDR on. So one, our bloom gets better. And two, then I can reduce the light, because right now it is way too high. So we're going to turn off anti-aliasing here. And that should be good now. We can jump back here, click our light, and drop its intensity. So it's a little bit more manageable. Our eyes are still glowy, which I think I like that touch. It's super. I was planning on having it so the eyes of the intimidating one are more, or turn to red when something bad is about to happen, so they're very easy to pick out. But I also wanted, the reason everything is black, and I'm kind of going with this monocolored style, is like from this distance, it makes it very hard to pick out who's who. And I like that, because that way you kind of have to get up close and personal. You can't just like recognize people. It kind of simulates like you keep meeting new people, even though the people are the exact same. They have no real distinctive features. Since it's a morph 3D model, we can obviously change like everything. So I can change the face or do something horrible like that. But for the most part, I don't think we're gonna do much of that. There probably will be some, just so they are unique. But with this, I think we can get things moving. So I think the first thing is, how do we do navigation meshes? I've never used Unity's default nav meshes. I've always just used like some other generator for them. So I'm kind of interested in how this works. Nav mesh agent. That's not what I want. That would be on the player. We're gonna do another one of those guessing games. Where is it? Game object. Maybe I don't need to add anything. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong. Well, we're gonna start this with some research. Unity nav mesh. That's not really what we want. Neither is this, but okay. How do I view the nav mesh? That's the question. And I'm sure there's a way. Oh, probably click the navigation tab. That would make sense. I must have missed that earlier. So we don't need that. I'm going to save the scene first. Then jump into red. Create just a simple like test scene. And then now that that's saved, I can bake my navigation meshes. That worked really well. I feel like I missed something, like a lot of some things. Okay. Feeling like this shouldn't. I bet that needs to be static. And then if I bake it, there we go. Okay, so we have a nav mesh. And now I'm going to do some really quick box stuff. And so the idea with this is we want a box, or more a cube, just on this mesh. And this way we can block things and then hopefully have this walk around it. For now, I'm actually just going to delete that. We don't need both of them here yet. All we need is one, so we can move it here, like so. Grab this, rebuild our nav mesh, and we should be good. So we have this. Now, I guess we figure out how to make it move. I'm going to add some fun stuff to this. There is going to be, not that, some navigation. Yeah, so some nav mesh agents like this. And so these are just going to move around. Yeah, so we should just be able to tell that to go somewhere. And maybe it moves by itself. We'll find out real quick. Red, let's create some scripts. There we go. And I'm going to create some AI. And then we're going to actually use the behavior designer to create a new action. And this new action is going to be move to position. So the behavior designer is sort of I guess it's a state machine. So if you're familiar with Unity's mechanism system, it's similar to that, but it's more for handling code state than animation state. And so what this is going to let us do is create a action that we can perform, and that action is going to have some sort of result. And then based on that result, we can decide, do we stay in this event or do we move to something else? And so then we can just build like a graph of all of our AI's behavior. And so this way we can design really simple ways to kind of move things about. In this case, we're just going to create something that'll move from one point to another once this loads. All right. So on start, we've got that. On update. And then you can see it just returns a task success, which I believe means it's done. So there's going to be a number of options here. We've got failure, inactive, running, and success. So these are run every single frame. So if something is like needs more than one frame to run, you return running until it's completed its full state. So we're going to return running until we actually get to that position we want, and then we're going to return success. So we want a navigation agent. So we're going to do agent equals get component from our navigation agent. Doesn't appear to like that. What am I doing wrong? Something bad? That's what it was called, right? Nav mesh agent. That's probably why it isn't showing up. Nav mesh agent. There we go. So we have this, we're getting our agent, and now we can say agent dot move movement to current position dot this would be when it would be handy to actually know what this did. Set destination. I bet that's what we want. So we want to set the destination for vector3 0. Now this is wrong, but I just want to see what happens. Dot success. All of this is wrong. I haven't worked with this a lot, so I don't like really digging deep into something and trying to solve the entire problem before I understand how everything kind of works. So we've got our nav mesh. I'm going to add a behavior manager onto this. That's not what I want. It's been a while since I've used the behavior designer, so bear with me. Then we're going to give it a name. We'll call this Red Human AI. And what else do we want? Start automatically. Restart when complete. I don't think we need any of that. We might, but we'll again see where we get and then we'll play around with it. All right, so I'm going to open that. It pops up another window over here. I'm going to just drop it there. And this is what we get. It is a bunch of really fun task-based things. And you can see we have our move to position script under actions. So I can just stick that there and it will run and then we'll be done. So I think that's fairly straightforward. Let's actually see what happens. Something poor, probably. Oh, it actually worked. So it actually moved our character, or set its position, to wherever we told it to go. So agent dot something. I want to see if it's at its position. Or more accurately, let's actually just, I'm still a little bit unsure about how all this works. So I'm going to open up a vector3 for the target. And this is going to be the target position that we want to go to. And so I'm also going to turn on restart when complete. So our behavior is going to do one frame and then it's just going to stop. So I'm having it restart each time so it will keep choosing different stuff. Then I can go to this move to position thing, open up its inspector, and we see there's a target now. Whoa, it's not what I want, but there's a target now. And we can actually use this to do some fun stuff. So for example, if I just start it again, it does its boring little thing. But if I drag this over here, it gets a little bit weird. But I can hopefully, yeah, you can see that it's kind of visually debugging or showing us where we are in our graph. But I can actually change these. So for example, if I want him to walk over to the other side, I can change that. And if I want him to walk back, we can do that too. And it'll actually kind of move around. So this gives us a little bit of availability to kind of change things. But we can also, how does this work? Oh, I think it's just inspecting it. There's a way to have it so it actually sets this value from a variable, which makes everything super nice. I don't think I remember how to do that, but it's an option. Either way, we have a moving character, and I'm pretty happy with that considering it took us all of 3 lines of code. That's pretty good. So there we go. We have movement. Oh, jeez, that is creepy. What is going on? Oh, that is really, really creepy. Really, really creepy. Okay, I'm done with. I can't stare at that anymore. Either way, it works, and that's all that matters. So now that we have that, let's do something else. Something else. What's the plan? So now that we have movement, I think the idea is we're going to want things to actually move out of the way. And I don't know how we want to do that, but I'm thinking there may be so for the first thing we can do is we can actually add a nav mesh obstacle, I believe, like this, and we'll give it the same height and radius and all of that other, 0.5. Height is going to be 2, so there's 1. Okay. So we just got this obstacle that is part of our nav mesh layer now. So if I look at this, or when I start, it should subtract it. Whoa. Well, that wasn't what I expected. This is a whole different type of horror game. What the heck? Why? Okay, well that's creepy. That's a whole different kind of creepy. All right, so that's not how you do that. I'm gonna say that right now. That's not how you do that. Whatever that was, it was wrong. It's all kinds of wrong. We can use actually some physics. So I'm gonna stick a capsule collider on here. And I'm starting to think we're gonna want something to actually store these. So I'm gonna create a, what do we want to call this? An AI model, I guess. And so the idea here is this model is going to hold a bunch of fun stuff. We're going to have a collider for our, what do we want to call this? This is going to be our proximity collider. And so what I'm thinking is the player's obviously going to have they're going to have something so you can't just like walk through them. But there's also that point where you get too close, and I kind of want them to step out of the way. And so that's what the proximity collider is if something gets within that, more importantly, if a person gets within that, it's going to say, whoa, too close, and kind of try to move out of the way. So they may be sidestepping or whatever. It'll probably just be some weird like slide or something. I don't think I'll have animations for this. We'll have to see. But those eyes are getting really weird. Huh. All right. Actually, hold on. There's somebody at my door. I will be back shortly. I'm actually gonna end the stream so I don't accidentally record them. It'll probably take like 15 minutes. Sorry, guys.